What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV, aka Darth Apocalypse. All right, so before I get into this video, shout out to the brother Aram for the donation to the channel via the PayPal, $8 donation via the PayPal. He says, I don't know if you've covered this in the past, but if Magic and Bird play on the same team after college, would they have had more championships in their collective careers, or would they have been able to do so, play together, due to their mutual mamba? Thank you, sir. Interesting question. So I get the comparison. You're saying essentially, now that I think about it, you're not just saying would they want to play with each other, but could it coexist for a long period of time, comparing it to Kobe and Shaq. Well, look, this is what I found out. They actually did play with each other, and I'm not talking about just the 1992 Dream Team. They played with each other in 1978 for Team USA. I forgot the exact name of the tournament. Let's see. I think it was called it was the 1978 World Invitational Tournament. So the first time these two interacted was not the 1979 NCAA championship game, but it was a year prior. And Magic has talked about, he has talked about if they had teamed up before, and he believed that they would have still achieved the same level of success, probably more. And he did admit it would have a different feel about it if they had teamed up. But he think they still would have been very successful. But yeah, you do have to wonder, could their egos have coexist? Could they have played on the same team together? And I can't help but think, yeah. It's just that, look, their styles would have to, it would take some adjusting. Magic was used to more of an up and down running gun style offense. Although, that changed a little bit after the retirement of Kareem, and they're a little bit more of a half court team. The pace slowed a little bit, but Magic was still getting, 19 points, 7 rebounds, 11, 12 assists a night, 1 or 2 steals a night, great efficiency. By the late part of his career, his offensive game had expanded to at least it was a 3-point shot you had to expect, to respect, and a mid-range game that, was at least dependable. But yeah, they would have to make some adjustments as far as how their offense ran. As far as numbers, I don't know. It's hard to say what their numbers would have been like. But then again, you got to look at it like this. It's not like they played on teams like today's basketball where the offense ran through them and they're putting up Luka Doncic 35 point per game. No, that's not like that. They already were playing with other great players. Magic with Kareem, Bird with McHale and Parrish. So there's already some sacrifice when it comes to numbers anyway. And essentially, and I decided in my mind to put them on Boston because Bird, I think would hate LA, and that in itself would necessitate him to ask for a trade. I really do. I think he would ask for a trade. Or at the very least, what Bird would do, if he didn't ask for a trade, once his contract ran out, he would have left then. Because I don't see him thriving in LA. I don't think that was his town. Now, if they both were drafted to Boston, somehow Red Auerbach pulled off some miracle, and somehow he was able to acquire both of them in the same draft. Well, actually, I take that back. He actually acquired Bird in 1978, but had to wait a year, right? But he was able to acquire Magic in 79. Bam. Boston becomes the team of the 80s. You know, Kareem probably retires earlier. Hell, I think Kareem possibly even asked for a trade to New York before he retires. Especially if that fire still occurs in the early 80s. I think he asked for a trade to New York. Matter of fact, no, before that. But was it that year? Was this contract up that year or was it the year before? I can't remember. But he probably asked for a trade to New York, uh, or he either accepts a deal with the New York Knicks and retires maybe after the 85 or 86 season. I don't think the scoring championship becomes that important to him. The reason why I say that is because Kareem wasn't about numbers. Kareem was about winning. And when Magic got there and they were winning, then that helped to push him to continue to keep playing. And along the line, along that period of time, he did, become the all-time leading scorer and built upon that. But man, you got Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird on the same team. Let's put them the Boston Celtics. That's essentially an upgrade from Dennis Johnson. And Magic is a guy that doesn't necessarily need to score like that. So, I don't know. If I had to just give a rough estimate of their stats, maybe 17 points a game, maybe 7 rebounds, and I don't know, like 10 and a half assists for Magic, and Bird would probably have similar numbers that he always has. 20, 24, 10, and 7, or 24, 10, and 8. It's the impact that I think is more um, is more prominent. I think the impact. I think instead of Boston winning 3 championships in the 80s, they probably win 5. They probably win 5, and maybe even 6. Like shit. Now I think about it. Let me see. Let me go through this in my head. Boston went from 29 wins in 79 to 61 and went to the conference finals and lost to the Sixers. We had Magic. If you had Magic, they get to the NBA finals, I think. If you had Magic Johnson, Boston gets to the NBA finals. And since the Lakers would not be the team they faced in 1980, I think it would be, was it Phoenix? No, it was the Sonics. Mm. I think they beat the Sonics, man. So that's 80, 81. Let's just, man, you know what? Now I really got to think about this. 80, 81, 82. I think they three-peat. I think the Sixers win in 83 with Moses, but then after that, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88. Oh yeah, now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, buddy. I said five. Nah. They have the most dominant dynasty since Bill Russell. Because who's going to beat them in the Western Conference? And until the Pistons come along, who's really going to challenge them? Philly. I give them an 83 Philly, right? But the injury starts derailing that team. And then you have the bad boy Pistons. But hell, I mean, theoretically, with Magic still in his prime, all the way to the early 90s, and Boston still had a solid core. And maybe with Magic playing with Bird, maybe Bird stays healthier longer. I don't know. It's hard to say. But I definitely see at least 6 or 7 championships with that team, man. Wow. We will have a totally different argument about the GOAT conversation, too. That's how I look at it. So really, you could think about like hell. You could roughly just combine their rings. If Magic won 5 and Bird won 3, maybe they win 8 together, 7 or 8. But anyway, tell me what you guys think about this.